Imagine a force that could instantly change the course of events in any part of the world's oceans. The U.S. Navy is recognized as the most powerful naval force on the planet, and its global presence vastly exceeds that of any other nation. The newest class of aircraft carriers, the Gerald R. Ford class, has become a key element in projecting this power, providing unparalleled support and protection. These aircraft carriers are equipped with advanced technologies, including advanced weapon systems and electronic systems that make them unrivaled in their category. The U.S. Navy is already actively using them to maintain stability and security at the global level. In an environment of increasing global instability, it's critical to understand how such technologies provide security and protect interests. Learn more about the latest technologies and strategic advantages of the Gerald R. Ford class aircraft carriers by watching today's video. At the end of the 20th century, the United States gave the world many innovations. The Cold War was over, and the digital era was already confidently looming on the horizon. It was an ideal moment for revolutions in military technology, but also an ideal period of peaceful calm to prepare for possible future conflict. In the process of this very preparation, the ambitions of the U.S. Navy resulted in the creation of the most powerful and expensive aircraft carrier on the planet. Ford inherited the name from the 38th President of the United States, Gerald Ford, and the design from its predecessor, the Nimitz class. However, this didn't mean at all that the ship was going to rest on the laurels of its great ancestors. The engineers managed to create a masterpiece of their time with a margin of strength for decades to come, integrating dozens, if not hundreds, of secret and not-so-secret technologies. It often takes about 5 years to create such sea monsters, but Ford, to put it mildly, turned out to be not the most typical character. Therefore, its construction began in 2009, and commissioning had to wait until 2017. And even this, unfortunately, could not save this Atlantean from childhood illnesses. However, up until 2022, the ship had done a tremendous amount of work on the bugs, getting rid of all the initial problems, and leaving the Norfolk Naval Base went on its first cruise across the Atlantic as part of the Task Force exercise. Together with its strike group and NATO allies, the lead vessel, CVN-78 Gerald R. Ford, successfully completed training exercises in the company of more than 9,000 military personnel from 9 countries, 20 ships, and 60 aircraft. Ford's second swim turned out to be much longer. In May of 2023, it left its native Norfolk, arriving in Oslo, Norway, to participate in NATO exercises and at the same time accepted the Norwegian Crown Prince Haakon on board. It then went to the Arctic for further exercises and then sailed towards the Croatian Split. After all, the crew also needs to rest. At the beginning of October 2023, the aircraft carrier conducted naval exercises in the company of the Italian fleet in the Ionian Sea. It would seem that nothing foreshadowed trouble, but as you know, evil has no days off. On October 8, 2023, the day after the Hamas attack on Israel, U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin dispatched a carrier strike group led by CVN-78 to the eastern Mediterranean to support regional containment efforts. A little later, Gerald R. Ford was joined by his colleague from the 70s, USS Dwight D. Eisenhower CVN-69 with its own strike group. While the aircraft carriers remained in the Mediterranean, several escort ships were sent to the Red Sea, where they repeatedly intercepted missiles and UAVs fired from Yemen. Shortly after the deterrence mission was completed, Ford successfully returned to Norfolk in January 2024, having spent 239 days away from home. During this time, it managed to sail over 83,476 nautical miles, facilitated more than 10,396 aircraft sorties, and carried out 43 resupply missions. When you look at this 1,106-foot, 100,000-ton aircraft carrier from a technological perspective, you immediately realize that this is a ship in a league of its own. Everything that was inherited from the Nimitz class has been modernized and changed beyond recognition, taking advantage of automation to reduce maintenance and maximize the ship's effectiveness in combat operations. The Electromagnetic Aircraft Launch System, or EMLS, is tandem with the Advanced Arresting Gear, or AAG, as well as improved power and control systems, allowed an increase in the number of sorties by 25% compared to ships of the Nimitz class, while simultaneously reducing the need for maintenance personnel by the same 25%. The funny thing is that lower maintenance didn't mean lower energy production. This is because the new Bechtel A-1B nuclear reactors created specifically for the Gerald R. Ford class are many times more powerful than the engines of its predecessor. The capacity of each of Ford's two A-1B units is 700 megawatts. Large power output is the core component of an integrated warfare system. The engineers outdid themselves in their efforts to ensure that any unforeseen technological advances can be integrated into the Gerald R. Ford-class aircraft carriers over the next century. Yes, you read that right. The Navy expects the Gerald R. Ford class to be part of the fleet for at least 90 years, out until 2105. Consequently, the ability of these ships to successfully onboard all new technologies throughout their operational life plays a critical role. Additionally, all current CVN-78 systems use only half of the power generation capacity. The integrated active electronically scanned array search and tracking radar system became Ford's eyes and ears. Ford has successfully implemented dual-band radar, DBR, originally developed by Raytheon specialists for the innovative Zumwalt-class destroyers. However, the dual-band radar will be replaced by the Enterprise Air Surveillance Radar, ESR, in the second ship of the CVN-79 John F. Kennedy class. The reason for this decision apparently was the price. It's $180 million lower than DBR, which Raytheon valued at $500 million. The Ford class can carry up to 90 aircraft, including U.S. Navy Boeing FA-18EF Super Hornets and Lockheed Martin's latest F-35C Lightning II, Boeing EA-18G Growler electronic warfare aircraft, Grumman C-2 Greyhound cargo aircraft, long-range radar detection, AWACS, Grumman E-2 Hawkeye, Sikorsky SH-60 Seahawk helicopters, and UAVs of various sizes. Realizing that drones are the future, back in February 2021, the U.S. Navy conducted tests using a Logistics Unmanned Air System, UAS prototype called Blue Water UAS. During these tests, the UAV successfully delivered lightweight logistics equipment to the ship from the Norfolk Naval Station while the aircraft carrier was in port with the U.S. Navy. One of the main technological revolutions of the ship, and its concurrent headaches, was the Advanced Weapons Elevators, AW, thanks to which the rearmament tasks for aircraft will become possible in minutes, not hours. Traditional freight elevators use hydraulics and cables to raise and lower platforms. These labor-intensive and relatively slow devices were replaced by elevators with electromagnetic motors at Ford. The lead ship, USS Ford, received 11 such elevators. They travel at speeds of up to 150 feet per minute and carry up to 24,000 pounds of ammunition. Overall, the Navy's FY 2025 30-year, FY 2025, FY 2054 shipbuilding plan, the U.S. service intends to increase the number of its manned ships to 381 units, including 12 aircraft carriers. Of course, the main ones should be Ford-class ships. Nowadays, this is represented by the already operational CVN-78 Gerald R. Ford, as well as 4 planned vessels. CVN-79 John F. Kennedy, currently undergoing finishing and expected to enter service in 2025. CVN-80 Enterprise, which will join its colleagues in 2029. CVN-81 Doris Miller, scheduled to enter service in 2032. CVN-82, still unnamed, with entry into service no earlier than 2036. The USS Kennedy will cost taxpayers slightly less than the lead ship, $11.341 billion versus more than $12.8 billion for the USS Ford, with $4.7 billion in research and development (R&D) costs. The USS Enterprise is currently under construction at Huntington Ingalls Industries, Newport News Shipbuilding in Newport News, Virginia. It'll be the first aircraft carrier designed entirely using digital platforms and will also increase the number of aircraft it can carry to 100, according to some sources. Having addressed some of the gaps in spending planning, the U.S. Navy decided to use some of the materials from previous ships, as the U.S. Air Force does with its fighters. For example, by 2022, approximately 20,000 pounds of steel had been successfully recovered and recycled for inclusion in the CVN-80 design. Experts will soon have to process another 15,000 pounds. Among other donor elements, we can recall the windows taken from the USS Enterprise CV-6 of the same name, a Yorktown-class aircraft carrier originally from the 1930s. Interestingly enough, the U.S. Navy managed to avoid potential delays in the creation of the CVN-80 Enterprise and CVN-81 Doris Miller due to the fact that they bought them at the same time, and the modification of the dry dock at the Newport News Shipbuilding Shipyard allows the construction of 2 aircraft carriers at the same time, which is also positive affects production rates. The main danger for these 1,000-ton masters of the seas may be enemy hypersonic missiles. Recognizing this risk, the U.S. Navy is actively working on various programs to introduce combat lasers. Of course, unlike Star Wars blasters, the laser beams do not explode when they hit their target. Instead, they emit intense heat, and at lower power output, such weapons can confuse the optical sensors of enemy drones. Turn up the power, though, and the laser will easily make a hole in them. Moreover, the speed of light at which the laser beam moves laughs in the face of the speed of any hypersonic missiles, not to mention that the cost of a powerful laser charge ranges from $1 to $10. And yes, we're not talking about millions, unlike hypersonic ammunition. In short, the Pentagon, having invested billions in aircraft carriers, is determined to eliminate any prospect of an adversarial advantage for the price of a cup of coffee. Now it's your turn to share your impressions of these undoubtedly legendary fighters. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell for more content like today's. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.